What's happened to us? As a people? We barely speak to our neighbours these days. It's just crazy. We don't know what trials or tribulations they have in their lives. We're not interested. We don't care. We do generally care about our own problems because I suppose as individuals we are inherently, well, a little bit selfish. Just look at the environment. That's suffering because we're selfish. But what about people who are struggling and we just turn a blind eye to it? The plight of those who are struggling to make ends meet. In the Safe West, for instance, well, there's a stark reminder of the economic challenges faced by many across the country. Well, recent findings in Cornwall, for instance, by the Citizens Advice Bureau, well, they paint a rather worrying picture of financial precarity, as households they're left with little or no money after fulfilling their financial obligations, and sometimes they can't even do that. But this is what happens under a Tory party. Happens every time. They're only interested in feathering their own nests. Well, they are more interested in skimming the Chancellor's pot, it seems. We've seen it in the pandemic, with PPE contracts, etc. Well, in 2019, those grappling with mortgage repayments had a meagre £60 remaining for the month, after covering all the essentials. Now, fast forward to the present day, the situation has worsened significantly, with the average overspend reaching £118. And quite often, much worse than that. Well, this troubling trend, it should demand immediate attention, but they won't, no. Well, it is prompting Citizens Advice to urge individuals facing financial hardship to engage in open discussions with the lenders. But for many, it's embarrassing, it's frightening, in fact, and too many people stick their head in the sand, just hoping it's just going to go away. But it won't. So you must deal with it, there's no choice. But the lenders they're being hamstrung as well by the Bank of England governor. And their interest rate rises. Now, inflation has come down a bit, which is also pulling down food inflation as well, which is good. Wages have gone up by 0.1%. It's nothing to speak of. No. Well, it's getting harder for all, it really is. I know the Bank of England governor has said that it's likely, the hints are that it's going to go up another 50 percentage points. It's going to be 5.5% in just about 10 days. Well, one anonymous nurse, that's not a name, no, a nurse, she's hailing from Cornwall about her plight. Yeah, she's speaking out. Courageously, you could say. She shared her personal experience. That's what I'm trying to say. Revealing the devastating impact of the skyrocketing mortgage payments. Don't forget rents also going up as well. Now, bereaved she is, and working part-time. The rising fuel and food prices has deprived her of basic necessities. A basic standard of living, I suppose, leaving her with no choice but to cut back on both. In fact, she's feeding the kids and not actually feeding herself. She's missing meals as a result. Well, exposing the silent struggle, I suppose, endured by those on the brink of financial ruin. The public, nature of her work necessitates, an unyielding smile, a bedside manner, you could say. Compassion, you could say, and a sense of humour, you could say. Well, it's all concealing that emotional toll exacted by impoverished circumstances. Now, meanwhile, nurses are faced with economic ruin and well, been forced to go to food banks. We've even got food banks in hospitals, just like our military, having to go to food banks in the barracks. Something not quite right there. And yet stories of individuals like this nurse, well, they get overlooked, and they mustn't be overlooked. They mustn't be unnoticed. They represent a distressing reality for countless others, not just nurses and others who are struggling in the workforce, but also those who, well, maybe temporarily out of work. It's hard. It's embarrassing. It's degrading. It's a struggle. Now, as a society, we must confront this systemic challenges that perpetuate financial inequality. You know, the rich are getting richer and we're all getting poorer. But we must endeavour to create a future where no one is left to suffer in silence. Well, actually, to suffer at all, to be fair. At least give them a voice. But no, we have to put up with the likes of Nigel Farage moaning because he can't get a rich man's bank account. Why is that important? But who will do that? Labour? You would hope so. That would be your foregone conclusion. You'd vote a Labour Party candidate in, such as Keir Starmer. Personally, I'm not particularly convinced. After Keir Starmer, some people call him, Sir Kid Starver now, because of this, which I think is a bit unfair, to be fair. It was never his policy. It's a Tory policy. It's just that he's saying it's going to have to stay for now. Well, he did say that the Tory child benefit cap on the first 2 children, so you only get child benefit the first 2 children. If you've got 4, you're not going to get anything for them. Well, that's going to continue. Didn't used to be that way, no. It's brought in by the Tories, you see. And then you've got the Labour Party saying that they're going to maintain a Tory fiscal plan. The same Tory fiscal plan that has put us in this shit in the first place. Go figure. We need radical change. Now, personally, if it wasn't a case of tactical voting, just to get the Tories out, because that has to be it has to be the ultimate goal, doesn't it? But what do we get left with as a result? So many people saying, well, I'm politically homeless, I'm not going to vote. I think that's just an excuse not to bother, personally. Crazy. It actually saddens me, actually, when you read stories like this, where people just can't make ends meet. Just the basics. In a modern society, it's not how it's supposed to be. It's not. Anyway, you tell me. Please leave it in the comments down below. And do you know any other stories like that? I would be interested to know, because I do actually read the comments, and you probably already know. If you want to support the channel, you do it on Patreon or buy us a coffee, and the links are down below in the description. We've also got super thanks and what have you. But we've got memberships now as well. So, yeah. I think it's a crying shame, don't you? Ta-ta.